Well, it's the end of the year, and you know what that means.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Of course, I'm just kidding. Now is the time of the year for monsters to go. And for people to go. Hello everyone, my name is Chase with Everything Horror, and today we're going to be talking about horror movies. Here's why. So about 3 years ago, me and my 5 siblings, so 6 total, had the idea that we would watch a lot of horror movies during the month of October. Kind of termed the name Spooktober. I know we didn't come up with it, but we're not that creative, so shut the hell up. So each of us pick 5 movies, plus 1, and they organize it into a little list. Everyone gets the exact same list, and all of the movies are lined out from day 1 to day 31. And we all watch the same movies on the specific day, and then at the end of the day, we talk about the movie. Now, these range from old classics that you haven't seen, new ones you haven't seen, new ones you saw and you liked and you wanted it to show everyone. There really isn't any rules, except you can't pick the same movie from a year prior. And hopefully this year we will have some gems that everyone else will love. And hopefully steer you away from the movies that the critics love, but the audiences hate. Throwing shade at you, Rotten Tomatoes. Your critic reviews can kiss my ass. Audience usually knows best. When it comes to reviewing these movies, for the movies that I highly recommend, I'll just be giving basically a nice recommendation and telling you what kind of movie it is. For the so-so movies, I'll be giving a little bit more on what's good and what's bad. For the movies that suck ass, I will be spoiling a lot out of them. So, fair warning. Without further ado, let's jump in.
Hi! Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you.
Bullshit. You didn't mean to scare him? Are you kidding? Creep is a 2015 found footage psychological horror movie. And when it comes to found footage horror movies, overall, it's alright. The acting is very good. And I'm not going to explain what found footage is. If you haven't seen a found footage movie, I mean, the first, serious one came out, what was it, Blair Witch? And that came out, 20 years ago? Yeah, we all know what found footage looks like. The reason why I say it's alright, even though the acting is good, the script is decent. Mostly because of the main character. I mean, the protagonist in the film. He makes a lot of errors that, if you take a step back for even a second, you kind of realize, why didn't you do more to basically get away from this creepy ass dude? Again, the actor who's playing the creep does a phenomenal job, because you definitely believe that he not only is creepy as hell, but he might be creepy for real. There are this is a very short movie. It's only an hour and 15 minutes long, but even then, it feels like it drags sometimes. There's nothing wrong with slow burn horror movies, but this one, it could have been a little bit more entertaining with the, basically just the characters and the setup and everything like that. There's even a scene in this movie where the main character's in his home and he's receiving threatening packages to his door, and he basically announces to us, the audience, that this guy knows where you live. He wasn't supposed to before. He searched out for you. And then he has a phone conversation with the cops, basically explaining, hey, there's a creepy guy stalking me. And the cops are like, what do you want us to do about that? The funny thing is, I actually watched this movie with a friend who answers 911 calls as a job. And she says she constantly gets phone calls like this. And it really just bothers the hell out of me when people actually intentionally leave out crucial information. Gee, how about you tell the cops that this guy is following you at your house? You could tell him he's leaving threatening videos and messages at your front door. You could also tell him, because later on in the movie you find out he goes through your garbage can. Maybe that would warrant a little bit more attention from the police instead of just saying, well, why can't you guys do anything? This guy's creeping me out. So overall, I give this movie a 6.5 to 7 out of 10. So the first Hellraiser came out in 1987. And this movie's had like 6 sequels, I think a reboot or something like that. And here's why my opinion on Hellraiser is more valid and more important than anyone else's opinions about this movie. I saw this movie blind. Like, as in, I saw it with fresh eyes. Never seen it before. I saw it for the first time, a 30-year-old movie about a week or so ago. And it is pretty entertaining. And that's mostly because of the great practical effects. And when you look up this movie and realize how tiny of a budget they had, just seeing what they were able to do with that is even more impressive. And of course, what they lack is the plot. I mean, it's a pretty minimalistic plot. There's really not a whole lot going on. With the character development, you don't really get to know them either. The mother and the daughter have an estranged relationship. You never know why. The daughter has a boyfriend. You don't care about it. I don't even think they even said his name. I mean, they might have said it once or twice, but they don't really, I don't know, it's whatever. One of the things that is really fun to poke fun at this movie is the fashion, particularly the men's. So part of the plot is the main wife of the movie is bringing estranged men home so she can murder them in the attic. I won't explain any more then, just so you can have some fun and be a little surprised at this movie. But every single guy she brings back there, he pretty much instantly just drops trout because they're there to smash and get out. And when they drop trout, every single one of them has these tighty-whitey butt huggers, whatever you want to call them, just squeezing on their non-existent asses. It really makes you feel bad about men's fashion back in the day. I don't know how or why the hell that was popular, but, just different guy from a different time. I would recommend this movie to anyone who really likes horror movies and has never seen it, because it's one of the greatest, slasher movie classics of our time. And if you're seeing it like me with fresh eyes, honestly, entertainment value, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I mean, there's a lot you can complain about with just how old the story is and the minimalistic plot and everything like that, but everything else about the movie really makes up for it. You Should Have Left is a Kevin Bacon haunted house horror movie. Honestly, when the first trailer came out, that's all you really needed to hear. Who the hell doesn't love Kevin Bacon?
My favorite actor? Oh, that's easy. Kevin Bacon, obviously. His best movie is probably a tie between all of them.
And anyone would love to see him in another horror movie, especially Tremors. You remember Tremors?
That's how they get you. They're under the ground.
One of the best old school horror movies ever? Yeah, Tremors was great. Kevin Bacon is great. This should have been a no-brainer. And especially his wife, Amanda Seyfried. She's
very attractive. This pleases me.
Unfortunately, this movie kind of sucked. Everyone was super hyped for it, and the ratings across the board after the movie actually released were pretty abysmal, which is such a shame because, honestly, the casting is great. The acting is very good as well. It's just the plot of the haunted house itself just is not very good. I mean, it seems like during the movie, there are a couple of villagers outside of this haunted house that know it's haunted, but do absolutely nothing to help out our main characters. And even when you find out that there's a couple twists in the end where these characters aren't as good as they're portraying to be, it still doesn't really make you hate them that much. I mean, to where you really think that they deserve all the shit that they actually go through. Even if you do hate them for that reason, the haunted house, really, you have unlimited possibilities you can with a haunted house. You can do whatever you want with it. They have some cool things that happen in the haunted house, but really, it's pretty basic. Another thing that you can give credit to, other than the good actors, the good, two main actors, is the daughter in the film. There are very few films in this world that actually make me want to have a daughter, and this is one of them. She's a kid. She acts like a kid. She's very believably acts like a kid, and you can't help but love her and want her to actually be safe. And honestly, out of this year so far, this is a movie you can skip. You are not missing anything. If you want to watch a good horror movie with Kevin Bacon in it, go watch Tremors.
Mark.
Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Grave Encounters.
Grave Encounters is a found footage horror movie about a team of essentially ghost hunters going into a haunted asylum and filming it for a TV show. The difference between this movie and the previous found footage movie this year is that this was actually really good. So, Grave Encounters, it has the extra commentary and the extra fun in the story because they are actually making fun of themselves. They are ghost hunters that know that they are full of shit, and it's great getting all the meta commentary of them just making fun of themselves, and after they have a super serious take just on oh, the atmosphere, oh, the ghosts, I can feel it, and then they yell cut, and the guy was like, was that too much? I won't say much more about this movie because I actually really liked it, but I will say this did remind me of another movie that has almost the exact same premise. It was Gonjiam Haunted Asylum. So, and that is about a team of ghost hunters going into a haunted asylum, but it's in Korea. And that movie is, to be completely honest, it's better than this movie, mostly because the scares are much, much, much better. This one is very good. However, I did suffer from watching a better movie before and watching a similar movie after, and I kept on comparing this to the better movie, and I felt like it didn't give this movie enough credit. This is definitely a recommended movie. I would give this a 8 out of 10. Dead End is a movie about a small family traveling from one part of the country to another for Christmas. And a lot of spooky happens on the way there. Honestly, this movie is a little hard to review because this movie had so much potential. The actors are amazing. The two main parents are some of the best and most famous actors of their time when this movie came out. The comedy in this movie is absolutely hilarious.
I'm pregnant.
I smoke pot.
The dialogue in this movie is from someone who absolutely knew what comedy was, but that person didn't really know what horror was. I mean, that is the main sin of this movie. It doesn't really know if it's trying to be a comedy or a horror movie or something in between. And something in between those kinds of movies has been done plenty of times over. The Scream movies did it very well, or at least the first 2 or 3, maybe even 4 of them did really well. But this movie, unfortunately, does not do it well. Honestly, you could watch the first half of this movie and enjoy it, and the second half, you should turn it off. You absolutely should turn it off. Normally, someone who takes a movie seriously wouldn't do that kind of a thing, but I'm telling you, this movie is not good. And if I must give this movie a number, I would honestly give it a 4 out of 10. And I'm only giving it a 4 because the funny is really, really funny. Well, there it is. First 5 days of Spooktober. I know it's already a lot later than day 5 of the month, but sometimes I'm a lazy so hopefully I'll be able to get the rest of these videos out before the month's over so you guys have some good movies to watch and some movies to avoid. Or watch too.